DARPA is an organization that has been around for 50 years, almost 50 years, this coming February. Next slide. We have an organization like all organizations, except ours is different than any place else in that people are only allowed to be there for 4 years, 4 to 6 years. That means we've had like 10 generations come through DARPA. This keeps it a very young organization. If you ever come to meet us, you'll think that we're just learning how to create ourselves, and we are, because most of the people have only been there for a short period of time. In that 50 years, next slide, we've done a lot of great things. And it was really a problem on what I was going to show you folks, next slide, because we do all kinds of gadgets. Gadgets from unmanned long-range helicopters that fly for a couple days, hover at 15,000 feet for 2 days, a chip-scale atomic clock, a cooling glove. This is something which will cool you or heat you up just by putting your hand in it. This is in use today. In fact, football teams are now using this, this glove today, as well as, of course, our warfighters in very hot climates, or cold climates. Next slide. So I was going to possibly say, well, I could show them some robotics. Next slide. We have the Grand Challenge. This is something you may have heard. It's a autonomous vehicle race. Next slide. We did, a couple years ago, we had this. We had a winner, $2 million prize. It turned out, however, that the obstacles were fixed. And given that they were fixed, we weren't satisfied with that. So we're having another one. It's going to appear on, next slide, it's on November 3rd of this year. And the difference is that here the obstacles will be moving. Now these are cars that have only 2 commands, start and stop. And with that, they have to go and navigate through a city, and there will be other moving vehicles that they have to avoid, stop signs, and so forth and so on. It is on November 3rd, and actually I know that all of you would probably like these things. And if you aren't doing anything on November 3rd, I'd like to have you come to Victorville, because while we have a lot of moving vehicles, we're still short on pedestrians. Okay. Okay. So I figured, what kind of gadgets can I show you? We have robots with legs. And this is actually, these aren't 2 people in there now. I mean, this is really a robot that is walking like a dog, and it's being trained to follow somebody. And we've actually shown it going through woods and carrying a pack for a soldier. Next slide. We've looked at what kind of robot with legs is the best one to have, and it turns out that the cockroach is the best. So we've actually made robots that are like cockroaches, climbing upstairs. So I don't have much time to stop that. Go to the next slide. And when a cockroach runs, I don't know if you've ever seen a cockroach run, but when it does, it stands up. Okay. You know, it actually gets up on its hind legs. So these were some of the gadgets I could have shown you, and I'm still trying to figure out what on earth to show these folks. Next slide. So what I decided to really show you is something which is really spectacular, absolutely spectacular. Several years ago, we took a monkey down in Duke University. We put probes in her brain. And the probes were, because of microelectronics, the probes were so small that her brain did not reject it, so it was permanent. And basically, we had her do a thing with a computer screen, where she had to move 2 dots together. And she did it at first with a joystick, and we took the signals coming out of her brain and we sent it to a mechanical arm. After a while, that mechanical arm moved like her. And then we took the joystick away from her, and we had the light come on, and she knew she had to move these 2 balls together to get her treat. Well, we don't really know what she was thinking about, but the mechanical arm, which was located 1,000 miles away, moved just like it was supposed to. We thought we had hit the motor signal in her brain, when in actuality we had hit the thought signal. We were tapped into the thought of moving, not the conversion of that thought into signals that ends up moving her arm. So what we did is we basically wired her brain up to the computer. And what you're about to see is really outstanding. This is a mechanical arm, and this is her. That mechanical arm is not physically attached to her, but it's attached to her through her brain. This, in the beginning, these are the signals in her brain, and in the beginning, we also wired up her biceps and all of that. In the beginning, so she sat there. The light came on, and she knew she had to move those dots together, and after a while, she learned how to do it by just thinking about moving those dots together. In the beginning, she moved her arm around. But she learned that she didn't have to move, that she could literally sit there and be quiet, and all she had to do was think about it. And this shows the signal coming from her arm and all is quiet. Now, what you're about to see is a person who's going to come over here with a piece of food. This, remember, is a mechanical arm. With the thoughts in her brain, she's going to reach out to that food, take that food, and bring it to her mouth. Go ahead and run this. Here's the food. Remember, this is mechanical, only being controlled by the thoughts of her brain. This is really fantastic. Now, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We became brave after we saw this with a monkey being able to do this. So we decided to move it even further and to bring humans into the loop. Now, why would we want to do that? Remember, the D in DARPA is defense. So when we do something, we're always thinking of a national security reason for doing it. Next slide. Well, the state of the arm today is really still back at the hook stage. Next slide. And basically, where we're going is we're going to take an arm, which, by the way, is an engineering marvel. Dean Kanan is here today. He's actually building one of the arms for us. And that arm is going to be controlled by the thoughts of this person's brain and be able to move it just like he moves it now. And because of the nerve that comes down from the brain into that arm, which does two things, one sends the signals to your arm to do something from your thoughts, it also returns a signal to the brain. And that's how you get sensation and you know where your arm is. This will be a complete closed loop. But just to show that this is really not totally science fiction, next slide. This is Jesse. Jesse lost his arms from a power pole accident. And what he has this mechanical arm on here. Go ahead and run this. And what he's doing from just the thoughts of his brain is taking one of these little toys and moving it around and moving that little washer through all of that. This is real. Next slide. I think we have one more picture.
Put the crow with him.
Here he's picking up a coin. Now remember, that is a mechanical arm attached to his body. It's the thoughts of his brain that is making that arm move. Taking that coin and putting it into that slot. Now out here on the floor, we don't have a person doing this for you, but we have the arms and we have a way to show you how this works. And I do ask that if you do get the chance, go out there. There's a couple people out there who'd be glad to demonstrate it for you and glad to answer any question that you may have. But this is DARPA. Only at DARPA could you have a program like this and still talk about it, of course. Thank you very much.